Hello Blender folks, welcome and welcome back fellows. So here is Gnomes, and today we're gonna do some retakes here that I haven't completed. Last time I was doing this, if not 3D animation workflows, which is something that I've been doing recently for portfolio purposes and practice training, right, of the 3D. So this is my main character. We'll see original character Dorothy of a sci-fi-ish universe, but it's also a fantasy universe depending on the approach on the costume. So here I'm gonna intend to do, yeah, I'm working here the mesh topology. This is why it looks like that, but this is the solid viewport. So I've been researching and having ideas for, like, as usual, the ultimate rig. Of course this is stupid because these technologies are changing over time, so there's never probably gonna be, as for everything, right, the ultimate version. Maybe this is it's contextual, right? But so this rig is a custom rig, and I know there's some few things that I've realized that maybe are wrong. In the deforms are not good right now, for the most part, in terms of certain details. So we're gonna, yeah. So anyways, we're gonna address the yeah, I don't need the costume, so I need to address this. The hands, you don't need the bones here, so it's just the positioning of the mesh, the geometry, and the mesh topology. So I think I've solved the mesh topology of Shift H of everything here. I was using a reference. Okay, so I was making a hexagonal faces here for the fingers, so indeed it's not like that. So actually I need another reference file here. That's I was using another Blender version, okay, sorry, I'll need to totally forgot about this. There's a character, Nico Munster. No, but it's not here. It was one of the... where's that? Some sort of... Sorry, folks, here. I'm gonna find it as just some... It's a special folder. Alright, probably it's the last one. Probably this one. Okay, so maybe you're not seeing anything. Sorry, let's see here. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do the multi-screen here. That's fine. So I'm gonna leave this at the side and here. So two Blender opened. This one can be smaller just to have the reference. Here is what we're gonna work on. So this is a bit tedious, but needs some concentration, right? Because, okay, the topology is gonna finish it off quite maybe in 20 minutes. There's not too much remaining. It's just annoying to organize this stuff. Oh yeah, there are many things to do. So I was solving this part, right? This mesh topology for these hands actually seems to be much better than what I was doing, and still low poly maybe, and it's less triangulation. It's more interesting, and I think these hexagonal shapes will provide a few more face for the deforms of the fingers, the shape of the fingers, right? To have a few more control, and that might be good. Yes, so I remember. So last time I was trying to complete this part, which we're gonna... Alright, so this part is around the knuckles here. Everything seems to be fine. The geometry here is not super important, the shapes. So let's start with this is the most complicated one. So maybe we start with here, it's different from the others. The others are gonna just... So here we have this face. Apparently here we might have a problem with this face here if it stands like that. Okay, that might work. Also, I've started to realize in my own hand that maybe this thing is in the wrong position here. It should be... Well, it will be more correct if it were here. So, yeah, it is somewhat at the top, and this defines where will be the top of the finger. That is, this face here should correspond to, let's say, these double faces here. But the problem is I don't have double face, so I have to, on the top, right, I want to follow this. The subdivision is on the side, on the sides. So this is arbitrary, but there are rigs which do this. And mesh topology. I think this is more interesting for the shape actually of the finger. But when it subdivides in the top, it's also an interesting proposition. I've seen also it works, and let's see how this works here, right? So here, okay, so what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to displace this thing here. It won't be too complicated. There are some waves, but we're gonna sort of... I think we can do this by just some sort of disconnection, ripping these vertices here, these faces. And then maybe delete this. These faces, select this. Let's G this thing. And now let's try to... Yeah, this is the good rotation, okay. So we're gonna just sort of move it in a lower... So this is mesh topology, is super important, and the one that I had for rigging, right? So these retakes that I've been made on the whole body, I'll show in a moment what I was so I was doing my rig to be slightly less low poly, to have better anatomic face loops, which I think are maybe not fundamental, but they are interesting, and I kind of love those good mesh topologies. Even though this is stylized, these shapes already from the 2D character design, the drawings that I do for these characters on my style, they are already sort of, they are cartoony, but they have some quite organic elements. So it's not that easy. It's not like blocky, low poly, sharp. No, it's kind of difficult to get the good shapes. It relates a lot to realistic anatomy in certain fashion. So this is a habit that I've got myself. Can't. But I also appreciate those cartoony models that are very in drawings, right? That are very like simplified. You get I don't know, Cartoon Network. At least when there are some proportions that I find interesting. So and funny, cute expressions. Yeah, usually. So this is the reference of traditional schools like anime. Here, don't mess this because we're gonna change this anyways. Okay, so we've made this change. That means that the thumb will be here, but of course we're gonna twist all these faces, right? So this will be pointing, like you place your, look at your own. So the thumb will still be looking about there anyways, but it will need to make some twisting there of the meshes, because I'm gonna reuse it. I'm not gonna delete those faces. So here you see, this seems a little better, and this didn't seem to have compromised anything. Yeah, strange face loop. Okay, so we're gonna. So here is here's not a knuckle, because this is the connection of the. It's not. Maybe it's not even here. This thing. Or maybe it is here. This is the metacarpal, but actually the metacarpal is here. This is the proximal phalanx, and here's the distal phalanx. So there's just two phalanx for the thumb and the metacarpal. And here there's the... I don't know the names of everything else. That's super complex structures. I don't even know why there are so many bones in this thing. It doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, nature. And the human body, it's crazy. So it works. Yeah, and we barely understand how it really works. If we understood, we could probably do a lot of good stuff with health issues and stuff, but no, we're noobs. Medical noobs. The only way they know is to destroy the body, like the allopathic medicine, right? Anyways, let's get this thing achieved. So here we're gonna solve this triangle somehow. Oh yeah, there is something interesting about this shape, but this is actually... The shape is good, but this is just... Actually, this is just a knuckle. It's the knuckle of the start of the proximal phalanx. If I had the positioning seems good, so it's like this joint could be slightly before, maybe. And we can try to... Yeah, there's many things we can do, but essentially it should be something like here. Gonna smooth that, and now we gonna... Yeah, I'm gonna make a... Let's see the model sheet here. I should have a top view for that. Yeah, but lots of changes here, so I'll probably have to... Okay, so there's a way to see the... better this stuff. No, I'm not gonna bother with that. Because we're not on the shapes yet. We're just, yeah. If the topology is good, if we know what is gonna be the geometry, more or less, and we know how to build the mesh topology on top of the geometry, then the shape is not super important. If it's just relatively okay, then we can do it. So to solve this part, I think I'm gonna rip this apart, and we're gonna get everything here, and we're gonna try to pivot this. Yeah, this pivoting is kind of bad. Did I make any connections here? No, this is... I didn't do. So this is part of the Okay, so here we need the view. I'm gonna make a Z, right? Rotate on the Z-axis with the view transform orientations. And now what happens is that I have the wrong face here. Or actually, well, I could make the thumb exceptional. Just because this knuckle is too big and it has this differently from these ones. There is a chance I could make the... Maybe I could make this contraption here smaller. And then I probably could solve that. That's an interesting proposition. So let's try to do that. So I'm gonna need this. I'm gonna dissolve that. We're gonna, again, rip these vertices. And then we're gonna just... Yeah, we're gonna actually merge at last there. We can make this face larger to compensate. Here we dissolve and we merge here. And so here, yeah, this is some simpler. Yeah, we can probably... And this is more at the top, right? So it kind of makes sense. The others seem more organized, but this should work as well. So here what we need now is, yeah, we define where is the top. So the top would be here. As I mentioned, the shapes here are not gonna be... this can be dangerous. This face here, it will always sink. Maybe this is not too bad. Yeah, we're gonna see. Here too, it will tend to sink. While this will tend to... Yeah, so maybe we cannot solve this very well at the moment. But this can... Depending on the case, it could contribute to the anatomy. Okay, let's do some color change here. Okay, so we got this one that is the top, right? So we're gonna have to rotate this again, except that actually no. We will rotate to the side, right? Oh, you need everything, right? Okay, rotate Z, there we go. So the top becomes again this kind of flat, just one, right? One face. It's very miserable shape here, but okay, this is just what we need here. So that means that this will be the side. Yeah, I have to cope with that now. But this will be a bit strange for this part here, so yeah, pretty strange. But we're gonna see what it... Yeah, it's probably doable. Especially if we actually project this more to the top, right? Like here's a spatial, a geometry problem, more than a mesh topology problem. Yeah, they are combined, right? So here we're gonna reconnect this. All right, and for the there's some mesh data in this vertices, like waves. Probably have to do everything again, but maybe we can reuse some stuff here. Also, the text. No, the texture is about the UV. So they have UV. They have UVs. Yeah, faces. UVs is mesh data too, I guess. All right, so you need to compose the this stuff. So we have some differences here. Maybe this was a better thing in the end, but it's not too difficult to reproduce. So here you want to see what we've got here. Okay, we got this face loop, which is very important. Immediately we start to build this. So this will be exactly on the top, and will be something like here. So you can inset here. I think this is too much, right? Topology for knuckle on a stylized character, to be fair, but it also works. So that's what I don't like. Oh, hold on, there's something else here. Okay, I was wrong here. I was following this position here, which is wrong. Actually, it is here. Okay. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna change this color. Make this protrusion here. Okay, now this is good. Now we see that these two faces here are face loops. Whatever they do, they are these ones. But there's another one that I forgot. This green one. That's very important. So again, this was a mistake. So we're gonna dissolve this. And we're gonna make it here. So it seems to be very more to the back than we need to. I need to collapse these faces, get them closer together. So this will be the green face loop, which is not working right here. So this will need to do something about this. So probably gonna rip this. Yeah, this is looking very bad. So probably the solution comes from, I think this is correct. The problem is after. It's so this face loop here, we need to, yeah, rip here. So this starts to loop around itself. Yeah, currently these faces are a bit weird, but it's okay. This one is looping in some weird way. Yeah, probably we're gonna see what they what they do. They do some weird stuff anyway. So probably this face, yeah, this face we're gonna delete. We're gonna recreate. They are redirecting this stuff in a strange way. Okay, so about to create this loop. All right, so here how many faces this thing has? I think it's 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so this starts to create. This is the beginning of the, yeah, this is why it has this color, just as this. So it's the loop around the finger. So that means that here we have, it's very, keep it simple. So it's just like here there will be another. So I see it there. Okay, we're gonna already paint this. Oh, hold on. It's the wrong one. Okay, we're gonna connect here. Merge at center. This one is this one, yeah. So we're gonna change this to green, all right? So this is the top. This is the outer side. It's very disrupted. I've tested this in this Necromancer character. Another thing that I was doing for VRM for the online workshop that didn't create the audience that I would like to have. So unfortunately, too much work and not enough didn't compensate. It was fun, it was interesting. At least I've tested, I've shared some content. I tested that idea of doing the, how to say, there's an idea about active education that basically is the principle where people learn better when they put directly, so instead of watching videos, tutorials, no, you put your hands into action. Instead of watching class, no, you read books. Just this is primordial, but you find the solution by yourself. You invent solutions. Well, you do the stuff right instead of the conventional method that is terrible, right? Kids and also other students, also happens in college and all that. So it's important. The culture of tutorial is a disgrace. It's very good to have this content available, but at some point it can become very creepy. And because if you want to learn stuff by tutorials, like, it's never a, it's kind of a rusting experience, right? A selfish experience. It's not very good. It takes too much, and there's also this idea of making digital courses, selling them, and even on YouTube for free or not, or private. But no, yeah, I think I'm getting a bit away from that. After all, I think it's too difficult to make, and I have other things to do. I myself have never made a paid course, But I recognize I've seen some people doing, some friends even, for rigging courses. It kind of works, but it takes a while. Like, I'm not sure it's a great way to start, to be fair. Depends on the person, right? On the individual. I think it certainly gives, if the course is good, it probably gives some guarantee that you're gonna learn, but it's like, it's not like a real course where it interact with a lot of people. So I wonder if the price compensates in these times of virtual isolation. It's kind of weird. The proposition, right? Like, I am from the times where, well, if you did a workshop, well, you meet real people, right? So actually, to be fair, not wanna be fanatic about it, but yeah, this thing of learning from distance is garbage. Like, it's not, it's important sometimes because it might be the only way to get content-rich people, but at the same time, it's not something that you really want to cultivate like a habit of learning. I think there are better ways, because the digital is too far away from reality, and it will build in people more culture of individualism, of isolation, of like even this idea do it yourself. It looks like at first glance it might look pretty good. Oh, you can do everything you can do, you do it yourself. But you see, this there's sounds like an illness. And maybe in the future, if the technologies, instead of destroying our jobs, our potential to earn money, right, they helped, right? If technology was designed good and not designed evil, right? The technologies, many technologies are evil by design, right? It's a purpose thing. So YouTube, all this crap. That's why I do all this stuff and don't get monetized, because this is garbage. It's pure exploitation. But I didn't realize that. Now I'm just streaming like, okay, I know if my channel monetize anything in the future, it will be like maybe just enough to buy a coffee once a week, so something like that. And even if it's like this is what we are. It took me a while to figure out, but for a lot of time I was learning through the internet. Eventually, the antidotes, not the antidote, but information about philosophical or thoughtful information about this reached me, or came to me, or I found it, or it started to exist. People start to realize what all this means, and yeah, it's okay. See, this starts to look good, although the knuckle seems not in the right position, right? We want actually this to be maybe a little more far behind here, and of course this is very ugly. All right, so here probably we need to smooth. I'm smoothing other stuff. Okay, so here I'm gonna smooth this. Maybe we can scale this. All right, so We see that we are retaining that shape, so this kind of matters. I'm gonna try to collapse this a little more. I'm gonna do some stuff here. Yeah, so essentially for many years, I fell into this trap, into this delusion, or into this, yeah, it's a trap, like it's an illusion. It's, for some people might work, right? But it's probably the minority of people. For most people, they won't monetize anything. They'll just be exploited. They'll just waste their time, create content for AI systems to generate, yeah, just making money for these assholes. And they won't give you anything in exchange, at least not what you really deserve for your efforts. It's like I need to disconnect from this stuff and start learning from different ways. Of course, even despite the garbageness of all this, of course there are good uses. For example, if someone, some artist finds a way that, okay, I can do this without without conflicting. This, I mean, if I do, I don't know, live streaming, video tutorials, or video sharing animations, I don't know, stories, art work in, not necessarily on YouTube, but you see this kind of media, social media, if you can use it in some ways that are incredibly beneficial, not just poorly beneficial, because really beneficial, without it becoming a sort of thing that will enslave you, then this is good technology. Of course, good use of the bad technology, that yeah, that will be it. Otherwise, I think it's probably something that would need to be readdressed eventually, because it might be this kind of treacherous thing, right, of the internet. Okay, so here what we get, we see that this is very wrong. This is doesn't have this kind of it's much more like this. Yeah, it's not so large along this axis. Okay, so you can see that this pattern can be quite time consuming, but the thumb is particularly difficult. So at the second, we get a yeah, we got to cut here and here. Here we don't make this, but here we maintain, and we're gonna, yeah, here we didn't maintain, but this is an old option. This is better, for it gives more better deforms here. This solution here, I found out. Because then you can manipulate this one, right? Okay, so here we got, this is flat, and that means that here will be the other one that we cut, like here, dissolve this one, and then we start to get this part. Let's see. Okay, you have one side, top side. Okay. And this is good. When we smooth this, we start to get some interesting output, right? Okay, so here now is just a question of, I guess, rearranging this geometry from the side view. Yes, bottom view already. So this is a bit bizarre, but we need to fix this anyways. Actually, we're gonna do GG here, and here we don't have GG. Well, we can do GG like a queen in chess. Yeah, so we can, or an archbishop, or a pawn eating diagonally. Okay, so here we're gonna maintain this flat. Maybe it's better. And so here's again the side. Let's see how this looks. Okay, so there's indeed a very, this ramp is sort of like that indeed. And then it deepens, dives a bit like that. Okay, then we have, but it's too, we need more flash here, so probably gonna just do this. And so probably here we're gonna bring this down. I find this face a bit strange right now. Yeah, this is a bit miserable condition, because the fact is that yeah, but the thumbnail here, I think it's more accurate in terms of the face. It's like really. Okay, but we need to fix the. I'm going to go directly to the nails, because this is, it's probably the most. That's the most. Probably there's a trick here that. Not sure that I'm gonna explore in this rig, but we're gonna try to. So here is a separated mesh. The idea is to connect it, and it's not that simple actually. Okay, so there is something underneath, and so this connection seems good. Like we have this, we can make this connection here. I'm gonna yeah, connect. Gonna start with this, then on the side we have I'm trying to let it be as low poly as possible. So there's an end gone here. Probably we can, maybe we can do this in a, yeah, like probably simplified here, but let's do it in a more like a natural way. Probably we need to, Yeah, so I see what I've done here. There's something about... Okay, let's try something different here. Because what if I... Okay, so here we don't have the... If I dissolve here, I have the similar structure, right? It's just that it's... Maybe this can work. The problem will be here because I don't have the mesh to support here the shape. So this is why this weird thing happened here. We could do this as something like this, right? On the, like this. Yeah, we could use this, but I decided to do this triangulation because it's like this part doesn't deform. In principle, it's not on a joint, so that's why this can work. But here, I'm trying to avoid these triangles because the face loops here are a bit annoying to, not to mention the sharps and all that. This probably will be problematic, but there's some potential that this works. Okay, and since it's the side, right? We can make perhaps this part a bit flatter. And so maybe here what we could do is a new face loop surrounding this part so that we could create some sort of adequate shape. So this is where, if we were to simplify this, something like this I think should work. Interesting. Okay, of course I would need to... This would be very weird, right? But we are getting this thing around, right? This is why. But here we got a problem because this is too simple, right? Yeah, so this will auto smooth, right? Yeah, so this can work if we have the proper creases here. We can do some stuff. with just that. Otherwise we might have to make that kind of weird thing like here. That you get the rounded stuff. Yeah, so this might be the problem here that I was having. However, here, maybe if we did some changes here, we might be able to... Doesn't look like we can do this. Yeah, so this works with the subdivision, right? It's very bad. It's bad to look at in the, but it works, right? Here we lost the loop. Okay. And here the problem is that there's really little thing that we can do with this. So and here was just this idea of doing the loop there, but so this one should stay flat, right? If we can. Now there's just another one here, so we just need to bevel this sometimes. I don't know, maybe this GG. So this is for the loop around here. Okay. Then we have this one. I think there's another one here, right? Yeah. This is the joint. And so here is the knuckle that we could take it here, right? It's feasible, but why would do this too much? Yeah, too intense. Just this should work. And so here, this helps shape the knuckle. And see the sideways, it helps creating the good, interesting volume for the... So this, we can dissolve this, and here Yeah. So the good thing of this is that, well, once you get it's very stable. But yeah, it takes a little while to develop without batching this stuff in some way. It's tedious to build originally. It's a bit complicated. It has too many, for my approach, low poly. It's maybe a bit too much of geometry to care about. Compared to a simplified version, but the deforms are crusty. It's kind of very interesting, even for cartoony. I think it's, in this sense, I take it with this is why I'm updating here. I tested it here, and oh, this one seems kind of nice, right? So here I'm not totally sure about this part. But the difference is minimal, right? So at least here, I think this is more consistent with the thumb. But the thumb, the shapes is still bad. So here I need to fix these loops. So apparently here we got... Okay, so this loop goes like here. Then we have the upper loop goes all around. So this loop actually... How does it... Okay, it's because of this. Oh, here is, of course. This is what was wrong. So basically we have here something different that happens. This is not like here. So there's... This has a lot more possibility of spreading apart. Yeah, there's... It's not like... So apparently there is something that... Yeah, so there's a face here. Oh yeah, this one. Okay, this one is actually that one. So there's... It goes directly there. And it connects. So here we got the side. Unfortunately, it dies off here, the face loop, but it would continue. Oh, it dies off because of this actually. How can we solve this? Okay, just a quick test here. Can we solve this here? I don't know what I'm doing here. Basically, I want the face loop to continue. So, of course, here's the end gone. I don't have the good face loop here. And I wouldn't like to... Alright, so maybe this is the only way to go. No, it's certainly not the only way, but this is a feasible way. Very regular way So you get the phase loop, right? Yeah. So that's boring, but well, we could also do this, right? But then I don't have this structure here, right? Yeah. Wait, just got an idea here. No, that's not a good idea. Even if I inset this, this is very ugly. Makes not... Okay, really, I need to check the... Hold on, let's change this. Yeah, this garbage thing. All right, back. So basically, the idea here is that we have the subdivision surface modifier, and it gets this, it's just one subdivision level, and it works well. For the rest here, it is a little problem though. So this, if this could be fixed with some features. Let's see if we have sharp first. No, I don't have sharp, but I think in this model we have sharps. Let's take off this. Yeah, so this is sharp basically. But as for creases, we have different values here, and they can play a role. So here we got, for example, 0.8. Okay, all these are 0.8 and these are 0.3. And this 0.8, this 0.3. Yeah, so this... This is already very sharp, so if I leave it to 0, nothing, -1, nothing, it doesn't help. Yeah, so 0.4, okay, why not? So, and here we're gonna change all this to this also is 0.8. Okay, so you got this. And you see the problem is it works, but yeah, it's like I don't like. I think it can be, it should be improved. Let's make some other tests here. No, it has nothing to do with it. So it's just, it's one edge here, which is not support. There's not any support here. So we could basically, let's try this. And so that solves it. Yeah, so there's a trigon there, and there's an n-gon here, but you see we don't need to do anything here. We won't get the face loop, but at the same time I don't have to mess up with the making this kind of stuff. Another way, maybe that could be if there are 2 points here, they'll also create a smooth curvature. But then I'll have to handle this like which is and still then I end up having an n-gon here anyway, so it's more complicated. It's not necessarily better. So this is more elegant, I think. Yeah, just. And this joint here wouldn't have too much problem. If we made this into, yeah, no, nothing to see here. So that's it. This we can, yeah, so good face loops. Now everything working here. Yeah. And this, let's bring them back to some natural crease for this model, which is 0.3 for the body. So here we can return this to 0.4. And here that should be 0.4 as well. I think that's won't compromise, yeah. That's good. So this seems to be the solution. So it's slightly different from what I've done before. Maybe we lose some control here of some shapes, but in exchange we get better face loops. All right, and now as for this, we can continue finally to the yeah, I've lost a lot of. This thing is very messy in terms of edge crease. I have to make a full revision after. Essentially, everything here is the same edge crease except for what happens here. But yeah, okay, we're gonna return that later on. So So here, then the second is just doing the same thing but below. So it will be here. So it's already well structured in terms of mesh topology. So just here. Yeah, this one doesn't loop entirely because we have these things in the way, but they help the deform, so they are joints. This is acceptable. And we see that here there's a triangulated solution for this part. It's a different approach. I was trying to find a way here to consolidate this. I'm not sure that I found it, but I can always try to see the connections here. If apparently this is not equivalent, right? But apparently we just need to connect here and see what happens. Looks like for the hand to be, yeah, the hand is very distorted here, but that's normal because we have to reorganize a lot of stuff first. Okay, and then we see, okay, here we get different loops here indeed. Okay, no, let's look in this way. Let's look from the side view here. And the bottom part, let's see what is happening. So there's this phase loop on the side which is going right there. Okay. Yeah, this is colliding in here because we push this up. So this is, so far is good. Okay. Then the second one, we don't have. Okay, this goes straight into the middle of the hand then. The problem is that what is this one? Okay, so these things is looping around here, but it could instead go like here, right? Where could this go? They are almost looping around the thumb, which sounds good. Yeah, like this one going here. And then there's this trigon here. Let's see if those face loops are working. Yes, these ones are working. And then you have this one, which is also working. So there's just some space in between, and it's all about how we, which is tricky, of course, but it's all about what crosses them. Because I haven't started from the perspective of the thumb, now I have to find a solution for all that, which is very crazy. Yeah, this will need a model sheet to readjust all these shapes, but it's getting understandable. Then if I, yeah, so that sounds good enough for now, but what about that gap here? So this could be like it's also in a joint region. It's dangerous, but it's not that like the subdivision surf modifiers sort of solve it. But it's like an imperfection. I'd like to fix it, but it should be very complicated now that everything is conforming except that. So it's like puzzling. If I ever find another way, then okay. Probably that would require another face loop or dissolving. I don't see myself dissolving anything here, but creating also would be very inadequate just for fixing that. I believe it's related to these face loops. I just don't have. If I could get this one. Yeah, this phase loop is a bit weird, right? Let's see. Yeah, like this phase loop should be the one trying to reach this part here. So let's try something here. Okay, then I just moved the triangle to somewhere else. Okay, but at least now this double looping. All right. Okay, but not too bad. Then this one. Oh, yeah. Okay. No, 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 it's not like this. The bottom part should be flatter and larger like this, yeah. I didn't know about this problem here. So this is not so good when the thumb connects to the... Okay, but at least I have a clue of where is what could be done better here. Maybe so instead, if this could loop something here, could connect on the palm, could connect there. Instead, they are going in this direction, and then they are looping around. Yeah, very long story, but that's okay. We can smooth that all at once. I prefer they don't do all that, but you see, this is kind of looping in a feasible way. we see that we have a triangle here, so another triangle there, so possibly somewhere we can work out some connections in the future. So this probably will need, unfortunately, we'll need some improvements here because of some slight change that I've made. Yeah, I have to still revise this because I don't remember what new findings I found. Yeah, probably I wasn't satisfied with that part. I start to remember. Yeah, but that the cost came into in triangles, trigons. Okay, folks, so here we gotta solve the last remaining stuff for this, which also we had some problems here. I'll check some other models. Maybe I find some inspiration to, some reference and inspiration to solve this as one. So this will be, if there are some change, there'll not be major change as I'm doing, because in the change I'm doing currently, there's a lot of change in the amount of connections, right? Okay, let's not do this. Okay, so maybe I should just delete all this face and redo the finger with the, do a main finger. Yeah, batch this stuff, because you know the shapes, it won't be too different than what I have. The waves, they are gonna change. Yeah, the nails, very nightmare. So we're gonna delete all that, and we're gonna do this. Yeah, I know where's the face are. It's up here. So Shift D. Of course, we'll need a lot of attention here because this is very unfortunately we cannot easily say Blender reproduce this symmetrically on all that. You see what I'm dealing with here. This, so we'll be doing the caveman way. Actually, not caveman. This is actually Neolithic. We got some better ways to handle this. Yeah, we can totally accept that, stretch this, except that all this is incorrect. Now I need another. Another one of this kind. Oh yeah, it didn't work. So let's see what we have here. Yeah, it's just this simple connection then in the end. So Yeah, here we could have used a different method, bridge edge loops, and had this thing deleted, but too late. It will also not be ideal. It will be easier to make the other connections when the first finger is achieved. Wait, what is this doing here? This is the wrong. Okay, we're just gonna make a two subdivisions here. All right, gonna change this to this. Okay, then we gonna hide this for a moment. GG, all right, GG, Alt H. Okay, so I don't know if compared to the other, the subdivision on top and not on the side, or this hexagonal thing, I don't know exactly what are the advantages and disadvantages regarding the mesh topology, actually, this working out here. Okay, in principle, the knuckles, the finger and the knuckle, the phalanx a bit wider, thicker. Some lot of distortion here. Here that didn't got the edge loop. Yeah, the UVs are completely disrupted here. Yeah, I need the character design to look at this to have an idea about the positioning, but let's just this is the generic shape. Yeah, for the generic shape we can just do like this. Then I need to see from the bottom, from the side, see if everything is accurate. Maybe it would be easier to do it from scratch, but you know, this topology takes time to build, so it's not that simple. If you get familiar with the pattern, for sure. This also works. Yeah, so it's more mesh, so the counterpart, of course, is way more complicated to handle. So this is like, yeah, it's not really, might not be that advantageous after all. If especially if you consider a lot of characters. But if we can fix this at least once, then we can reuse and then no problem, right? So essentially must make sure that this one should be fine. Yeah, and this seems to be too exaggerated. Yeah, I would really like to have like a linked mesh with upgrade. Like do one finger, it knows how to update on the others. That will be the future. You can do this with left and right, but here is not a case like that. It's more. It's not exactly a symmetry. This part, if it's flat or not, I'm not sure how it should be. In rigging, then another step forward, we'll know better. Okay, and here these UVs are really annoying to be visualizing like that, but we can stand this for a while and then eventually we'll because this is part of the readjustment of the geometry, then it's just something that we can do once in a while, and then we'll get all the textures back. The UV is back, right, onto the textures. So minor fixes here, try to get those things a bit more aligned. Yeah, so this is essentially the this one big disgusting thing about 3D CG art, right? It's like there are many interesting things now that I've compared, even in the 3D animation aspect, and it's all about this because you have so much control on useless coordinates. Not usual, but I mean you have control over points, mathematic control if you want even. But because precisely it's because of this excessive control that the problems of getting good shapes and start to be like in the real world, drawing, for example, painting, maybe not digital painting, but yeah, maybe even digital painting. So essentially, when you start to fix a drawing, there's a resolution where the artist have some sort of control. The resolution in 3D for these little stupid details that I'm showing here, of course it's different if the drawing of the hand that I would be making is large, huge, then that's another story. But still, the resolution in 3D, the point, the edge, the face, makes it that to have the ideal shape, it's like, maybe it's just me, but no, I think there's so much possibilities to improve the resolution in the 3D. It's more like that. That is like it becomes really challenging to deal with this form of art, because you can make it better because it sucks, but you can make it better. Usually it sucks. So you can make it better, but it's hard to tell when it is ideal, because there's some little small change here and there will still, maybe there's, in drawing, in my experience, in painting, there's a moment where you say, now this is good, now this is super good, now I wouldn't touch a millimeter or less. But in 3D, I don't really see this happening in my workflow, in my creation. Yes, it occurs, but it's much harder for me at least to realize when, because you can interpret a lot of stuff here as mistakes. This position is a bit, so it's like and this happens, it's not just modeling or sculpting. I'm not sure. Sculpting might be a bit more organic though, but modeling certainly not. Modeling, you have too much control on the analytic control of things, and same for then 3D animation. because in animation I've just had this insight because I was animating, and I started to realize about the meaning of the curves, not meaning, but I was investigating the possibilities of animating as usual without the curve editor, which I think is too analytical. And precisely because what this kind of animation with the curve editor leads to, this is what I've seen from our workflow of other animators, 3D animators, right, is that the possibility of solving every single curve, you have 3 transforms at least, the location, rotation, scale, and for each one of them you have usually the 3 axes. So it's like you have 9 curves for a single, you have like 9 splines for a single miserable F-curve interpolation, like in the middle of 2 keyframes. That means what I'm suffering here, or struggling maybe to achieve something, some sort of ideal solution here, that is what I would be doing if I were trying to solve, of course the animators won't try to solve everything, but because it will be a nightmare, I think. And it is analog, right, what I'm doing here with the thing of the curves, because it's too analytic. You try to solve things one by one. When you do 2D traditional animation, okay, you don't have the interpolation, but everything that is solvable through that way of adjusting curves or positioning the, I don't know, maybe not, it's not so much about the keyframes, although it's also about the keyframes, because you have to keyframe everything that moves, or may have to adjust every keyframe that of stuff, right? So it's not necessary that you need to keyframe everything, but you need to make sure that the motion happens with the good keyframing. And then if you have a rig with a lot of bones, soon enough, even if it's not a lot of bones, soon enough there'll be gigantic amount of channels, and there's the same thing. And then if you go even inside the channels, then you start to get to the vertex, to the unity. You start to get to the individual curve, individual handle. This is complete madness. So this means, if you compare this with the reality of, for instance, 2D traditional animation, of course there are other problems, right, folks? But I think you can get the idea. So there's a reason why I'm not doing 2D traditional animation right now, or because it can be very tedious. The artist, the animator, really must love drawing, sketching. I sort of love drawing, sketching, but for some reason, when it comes to the drawing massive amount of keyframes of drawing, that's, I don't know. Maybe I can still make peace with that in the future. That will be interesting. I need to think. It also have to do with the digital medium, because my tablet is not the best for this kind of work. It works, but it's not ideal. So it's not like those that you draw on the screen. So it's kind of annoying. There's one difficulty. Then without that, you have to draw on paper, and then I don't have a scanner. I had in some moments, but having a scanner also is super tedious to do on your own if you don't have a... so it doesn't make things unfeasible. It was much worse in the past without scanners, but It's like too many frustrations in the just to have a few keyframes. So, but even in this table, yeah, if I train, if I practice, if I had some cool idea, maybe I could indeed restart, trying some reset in 2D traditional animation. And curiously, I've just been able to figure these things. Of course, I for a long time I've been passionate about Blender 3D CG art, right? It happens when I started to realize this was about a few more than 1 decade ago, a few more than so about 2007, 2008, and so forth. Then I started to finally had contact, visual contact with graphisms in 3D that I started to find attractive to me. Oh, I would like to do. I love this style in 3D. I would like to be able to do something like that. Started all like that. Just as it started when I was passionate about manga. This is 1998. Yeah. When I found out that some kids of my age were drawing like the drawings on TV. They weren't that good, but for me they were exceptionally good because I could just draw organic stick figures by that time. I made stories and comic books and uh, and animation flip books with them in school books. So yeah, I think this finger is ready. So let's go. I don't know what's happening. Okay, we're getting extra faces there. Yeah, no needed. Oh, we are missing a connection here. All right, that's good. So we can probably hide this. No, this won't work. We need to, yeah, we're gonna do like this. Shift D and Shift D. So this one we scale down, and this one we scale up. Wait. Scale down. And this one, for some reason, normals. Okay, I don't know what's happening here. Looks like I have problems with the normals here. But I don't see it. Yeah, it seems bugged. Okay, let's flip normal just in case. I don't know, but we're gonna just sim this for now. Maybe it's already sim. Let's not waste our time. Yeah, I need to make sure this. And then I have some weird sims that were for previous solutions. Yeah, we're gonna solve all those. Yeah, we ignore the sims for now. We could pick this and this. Okay, I think we finished with this one, so we can close. And finally full screen here. We're gonna I don't know what's going about the normals. Maybe I just pick everything here and recalculate outside. No, okay, it's something. Maybe there's some sort of disconnection of the vertices. No, 0. Okay, so it's not this. Okay, so I'm think that we're gonna scale along the Y, make them like this. Okay, then for this one we're gonna, this one is scale larger, and these ones we downscale. And as for this face, we can make some small adjustments. Yeah, a lot of distortions. So again, this tedious things. This is why a simpler geometry might work, or some other solution, I don't know. So for now, this seems to be sufficient. So we're gonna do different here. We're gonna delete this face. We're gonna get this bridge edge loops. There we go. And there we go. Now I can try to smooth out some stuff here. And maybe we should also... Ah, no, this is dangerous, what I've done. Yeah, because this is smoothing the body as well. We don't want that. That could be deadly. So it's good to have some sort of control of over these face loops. All right, so after these tedious developments, I have finally achieved the whole mesh topology for this character. No, not this. Let's check that. Oh, there are some problems. Yeah, there's a lot of problems. After I've created those stuff, they were not all set. Yeah, so there's a lot of anatomic things on the upgrades, right? Took me a while to address everything here, but so the limbs are different. So you have these face loops here now. So an extra, it's like 6 for the upper, but for the lower limb, then there would be less. And so just 6, and here you'd have 8 thanks to this. So this is because I've realized that this part really needs more connections here, otherwise it will be too hard to wave paint those things. We have some things here. For the iliac crest, this vertex here, we... maybe this is not an edge crease. Vertex crease. This should be a vertex crease. Yeah, why it is not? So let's just make... Maybe it's too much, but not a problem. We're gonna do this for now. And there are a lot of edges here. I need to make sure if there's nothing crazy here. It's time to update this thing, right? Edge select mode. I think there's not anything weird about those. It's all regular everywhere. Yeah, it doesn't seem like I've made some variations here. So some parts are very easy. It's just the same. Yeah, it's just on the face it starts to get different. So I'm gonna get here, and possibly here we got some destruction here. What's going on? Okay, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Apparently some double vertices. Yeah, just some crazy faces. There's an error with this operator, okay. All right, so let's isolate the head. The lack of soundtrack is weird right now. Let's get... Oh yeah, I think in the clavicle there would be some difference, but we haven't... Yeah, there is 0.5, but easy to remember. It's just about there, yeah. If we can go up to here. No, this is too low, yeah. We'll need some adjustments here anyways. Right, so that is hidden. Then here maybe we have some variations. No, but we can have a vertex crease here. Just as here. And here we also have, all right. So what I need here is, yeah, nothing for the hands yet. So I'm gonna try to isolate them. It won't really work, but just for their interior part, at least that. So we're gonna get all these. Shift 1, -1, Shift E 0.3. There we go. So now everything restored. Now we... No, looks like that we have our wrong face here. All right. Oh, that was it. That was the... There was an extra face that was probably inverted there. Yeah, that was the culprit. It's not a bug. So extra face there that I didn't develop. All right, then we have also... Now let's get back these ones. Yeah, I'm not sure. So I'm just gonna go these ones to 0.2. So adding few edge crease to this. Then for the face, yeah, there were some creations here. Long time I don't touch the... Yeah, this will be annoying, but let's try to fix visually here. It's not too many stuff here. I don't see anything else. For some reason, there's more crease on here. I think this is a mistake. Yeah, probably just an accident with the shift. Okay, let's level to 0 and let's re-add them. Then now let's hide this and check here what there is here to fix. Apparently it's just this one. Here we got some problem with this positioning. Probably just got clipped, snapped accidentally. Oh yeah, this repositioning, it can be dangerous. Yeah, I messed up. So not a critical thing. I like to have it fixed. So here we got, yeah, many things here that need some improvements. Let's bring back the okay, let's now that we got this all these colors here, select, we can already transform this into urban, right? This is wrong. Apparently we have a mistake here. So I can change the some clothes of the character based on the texture. So by just changing the skin with, let's see if there's any glossy here. No, it's just on the nails, all right. At this point, these are just texture UV glitches. And yeah, so this is unfortunately have to revise a lot of stuff here. There's some strange shape here that I didn't retake. Something that might need some smoothing. Okay, so then we get the costume. There we go. And wait, didn't I make gloves for this character? No, it was the other character. Okay. So she doesn't have, unfortunately, or it would be based on the texture. I don't remember now for this character. Okay. So this, I think that is already, it was a bit too long, unfortunately, and I probably need to go. But my next task here will be to address a lot of rigging stuff of now the topology is finished. There are certainly some little details that I'd like to improve. Maybe that would require a larger retake. I'm not gonna test the rig because probably everything break here. It shouldn't be good. Then I need to have a list of stuff, but here it's not updated. Let's see if there's anything about the UVs here that, no, the UVs, not the mesh topology. Update mesh topology from, okay, so here I think so there's the, wait, is lagging. Okay, I don't understand why this text editor is lagging here. The 3D viewport is not lagging, just this thing is lagging crazily. Okay, there's face. I think we got the face. Yeah, I don't think there's anything here to neck, trapezium, thigh. Yeah, all this L face look exactly. Chest, mid. Also did mid upper torso totally. Lower torso, belly, hip, pelvic, hip. Yeah, feet I don't remember, and hands. Yeah. Phew, that was the very long. So now there will be plenty of little details, and I have some ideas, some crazy ideas for facial rigging that I need to explore, and that will be my big nights for some presentation. And the rest is just base waves again after this change of mesh topology, especially for the hands, because the rest wouldn't have suffered too much. Just then addressing the helper rig for the bones, and that's it. My new approach, the thing that I believe that could work for the face rig, and I'm still investigating, is I'll bring on along this week. There's some idea about, unfortunately, I don't think I can test it. Maybe if there is some rig here working. It's where it is, master face. Okay. It's more for the mouth rig that I want to do something here. Basically, there is the, there's the rigs with shape keys, right? And of course, there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages of whichever method. The cool thing about shape keys is that we have some control about the final aspect of the deform. The bad thing, one bad thing, is that these deform, they are linear, but as worse as being linear, which sometimes we can compensate, but another is that we cannot make tweaks in the shape keys. However, turns out that we're gonna make a test right now. I think I don't have shape keys for this face. Yeah, I don't have, just these ones which are totally broken. Okay, we don't use this. So but we're gonna attempt something here. So in principle, the bones, they allow the tweaking, right? You can change, you don't need to have a shape key. You can just adjust the mesh, the bone, the deformed bone, or whatever. You can have some on-demand change while you have to like create a pose, right? But the shape key, it's a preset. So even if the shape key has a bone that is good to manipulate, that corresponds to the shapes, sometimes you move the lip up and down, it moves the lip, so that's good. But then the shape key is like doesn't. So let's do here mouth, smile. So I've got this idea after doing a whole ARKit 52 facial expressions for VRM. I did that, and it was very difficult to start with. I've tried many times, but as soon as get the correct reference and the patience, then and the motivation, I did it. And then I found new reference, and turns out there's one problem that people address. I knew that problem is that if you want a bone to follow the shape key visually for better deforms, then you can't. But then maybe we can use the override transform for the bone itself, of course. So let's try to do something here. It's not guaranteed that it will deform well, but there will be some visual correspondence of the bone. So that would allow to make tweaks without some dependency cycle that trying to do that would cause usually. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is that I want to shape I want to shape something here. We're gonna isolate some bones here. Yeah, I'll just keep the... Okay, I'll keep this one. And we're gonna make, yeah, mouth smiles. Will go both sides, right? Unfortunately, because there's a mirror modifier. So the shape key will do a linear motion, and it won't work with the shrink wrap modifier that I have in this. However, I can snap this face in the shape key onto the verts that I want. It's very tedious, but that works. So we can re-snap them to the position. That won't change the fact that the motion will be linear, but then by having the proxy mesh here active with the shrink wrap modifier, right, the shape key will be forced to shrink wrap even during motion, so you can have a curvature. So this is a very old method that I've learned that it works for closing eyelids with shape key. The shape key morphs, but it still adapts itself somewhat to the totally to the curvature that is in the target of the shrink wrap, provided mesh is targeting. So here there's many things that are interesting in this. First, I can fix the curvature of the shape key by this method because I'm using here the inversonic melt rig or a proxy mesh for the muzzle. You see here, or the lower face, or the whole face in this case. So I fixed one problem with the shape key, but more than that, I can have the bone follow the shape. So of course this shape is horrible, or it's not very interesting, but if I add this shape, you see that this bone is in the wrong place. Let's get the thing here to, let's go back to the, here, let's reset. Okay, the bone of course doesn't move, even though it would correspond to a certain part of the mesh. So what I can do here is to make a bone here that would be a, let's say, drive lip corner whatever, and yeah, can delete this for now. So I have two bones here. Yeah, let's change. Yeah, just make this bigger. Okay, this one. Okay, let's change. Okay, whatever. So this one, maybe it has, no, there's no bone constraint in it. Okay. How come it doesn't have bone constraint? Okay, doesn't matter. So what I can do is then this will be the bone that controls the shape key. It will be a bit messy. Yeah, I see it has problems. It's not like so easy because the shape key must follow the bone somewhat. It's not also automatic. It's not, the deform rig is better for that, but we can certainly do something here. So add driver. X local space. Yeah, and all that. There are better ways to do that, right? So here is just I think that should work. Yeah, so we need some, and we need some modifier here to simplify this. I hate this thing. Okay, so then we got, but this is a better method. If you can ever find where it is. Okay, it's this one, generator. Okay, why doesn't it show? Yeah, very weird. Like something is missing here. Ah, it is here. Okay, need to click in this thing. So there's a generator here. No? Okay, the modifiers. Okay, they are here. So I have two of them. So then we need to times 10, 5. I don't really remember. But this should provide some. Yeah, maybe it's improved a little, but not sufficient. Maybe this is needs to update. Okay, how do you apply this? No, it's not. Yeah, I think it's strange, but strangely, this looks like it requires, it's not the way that I'm familiar with, so. And we can't have access it here, so. Okay, I'm gonna try last time here. Maybe I'm missing something. Okay, it does, but that's a lot. Okay, so you see that this allows the and so what we do here, finally there is a custom shape here. We just use a override transform, and so now the bone, the deform bone follows the shape key bone. So it tends to, it should do correctly, but this is not so simple, as you can see. So the mesh is following the shape key follows the bone of the driver, and also the bone, but the real position of the deformed bone is here, the original deformed bone. And now it will do its own deform from that position. I don't know why it is not. Oh yes, there's the override transform is not. Okay, so this is not a good solution actually, because we cannot. I don't remember that. Okay, we cannot, for some reason, manipulate entirely the bone. Or maybe, hold on. No, this bone is supposed to be posable. Yeah, so it is. This doesn't work. But then, if that is the case, then what's happening to the rest of my rig? Let's see here. This one, mechanism a hand, okay. Okay, okay, because this follows the. But actually it's here, okay. So the problem is that these bones have a different. Like maybe I would need to have. This one parented to. This one parented to it, maybe. But does this controls the shape key? One. 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 Well, we can see if it controls the shape key, because if we do this, it doesn't control the shape key. Okay, so this one, right? So yeah, the shape key is not controlled by the deformed bone, but the parenting of. Yeah, because this thing is. Oops, what happened to my screen? Yeah, my screen is about to die. So tweak. Yeah, so that is. Yeah, so this is the deformed bone and this is the shape key, right? Okay, so this setup is crazy, but it's sort of there are little problem. Yeah, we don't see when the bone activates the shape key, since it moves by the order, so we can get confused. Yeah, so it's not very good actually. Yeah, I can mess up very easily because I don't know where is the position of the... Yeah, so unfortunately this attempt doesn't work. It's confusing as hell. I had imagined suddenly that this, but it's not a good thing. But it's interesting. So the parent doesn't make the bond of the shape key to because it's not moving in local coordinates. However, the opposite parenting, this will be different. Because then if I dare move the shape key bond, then this will cause immediate deforms. And the proof is that if I turn off here the yeah, so if I pose the shape key bond, so the only deforming by shape key, but as soon as I enable this has all the transform that the other bond has caused. So there is it's deforming anyway, so it's just the local coordinates ignores the skinning just for the shape key bone, the bone shape, yeah, shape key bone, not for the deformed bone, of course. Yeah, all right, so this whole idea of making shape keys and then tweakables by, yeah, like shape keys based on cartoony expressions, like quite exaggerated. It's not a bad idea. There's still this idea of the shrink wrapping thing that works with the shape keys, as I mentioned, and then works for eyelids, right? Complex eyes, cartoony eyes that are not symmetric. Then we can then have tweakers as deformed bones. So it's still a good idea, I think. But then the problem is that the bones, they don't follow the mesh. Yeah, they will stay in place and you have a hard time seeing their position. You see that even this thing that I've mentioned about the override transform is not good enough. Yeah. So they are trying to develop this, I've heard. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the long speech there, but some experimentation. So, because if that is not working, then for me there's just yeah, this shape key. I hate working with shape keys. That's why maybe I'm not really counting on that. There are too many problems already. So the other discarding that alternative, there is the possibilities of improving the universal Nick-Melt rig. I think I can get a new round of this after so long and getting all the good deforms. I'm still having problem with the posing bones. They sometimes create some artifacts that are difficult to handle in my character design. It's not very smooth, and I think it relates to the shrink wrapping feature of the bones, right? And this is useful, but it's very easy to break the rig with that. It becomes clunky, and without it, it's very easy to deform the mesh badly also, so lose control for animation. So it's like 8 or 80. It's hard to get a the other possibility, which I'm aware of, I need to try again and maybe soon, is the new geometry node setup that align the normals on real time. So there's a geometry node setup for this now in Blender 4.5, and this is, I'm sort of eager to test, but I've made many attempts similar stuff before. It lags. It's Boolean. It's like, you know, you carve a Boolean melt on top of a face. So that of course the Boolean is not exactly a hole that needs to be made, although also a hole, but the lips, yeah, so so there's two Boolean things happening, or maybe just one, but one to make the whole of the mouth and the other to make the lips, so you have the shape that, so you have the, but this sounds, in my experience, my computer at least, it lags, or the way it's not just not good enough. So unfortunately, the shape keys with the shrink wrapping and then they form bones, maybe bendy bones could come in handy in that approach, because they are wide. They could allow to control the tweaking of the shape keys. So that's an interesting approach. So I need to take note of that, but my main goal here will be to try to get the best skinning with armature deform. That will be the Universonic melt rig, but this is very hard, and at some point, if I can't get the things that I want, I'll just end up giving up and favoring another setup. Maybe this idea of shape key sims, or in case the geometry node things is a lifesaver, then that will be revolutionary. That won't be exportable, like, but it's still very good for animations. That will be really a game changer if that ever works. I doubt it will work, but I need to try. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. Take care. Happy blendering. Have a nice week. See ya another time. Good luck in your projects.